And it looks like now things are getting to work. Welcome live on FTN to coverage for the IORA Cup Series at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Unfortunately, our microphone having a few issues, so we're going to get things going tonight with a temporary setup. However, as the night goes on, we'll try to figure out what's going on with these hardware issues. Daniel Mosteller and Aiden Walker find themselves on the front row. I'm David Troitz commentating and producing, and the field is set. Qualifying is just concluded, and so far it looks like it's Daniel Mosteller, Aiden Walker, and River Page, 1, 2, 3. Lars Kennewick will start in 4th, and Sean Rowe will be in 5th, with Shay Schaefer then P6. Immediately after that, you'll see Michael Mitchman in number 38, Gavin Austin in 0.2, Jacob Wilkerson, and Corbin Collins making up that final bundle in the top 10. A total of 33 drivers registered for tonight's 100-lap event. I think they're only just beginning now as drivers get themselves set up to go at it for the entire night. It'll be a long event, shortest intermediates of the season. But now we're going to figure out who has what it takes in Atlanta. Daniel Mosteller going to take the green flag. A little bit of wibbling and wobbling on the way through, but he's got the green, and Aiden Walker comes right beside him. We're underway from Georgia. Daniel Mosteller in the wall big time. The 87 sees the wall, and multiple of the drivers go with. Yellow flags out, the first caution of the night. Demo's going to be up on the high side there. And we're going to take a look at our instant replay to figure out just what happened. Caution number 1 on the day, 3 wide, River Page, and the number 19 right up there, Lars Kennewick. And then Mosteller making contact with the 19 up top, and that's what caused the issue. Demos gets sent up track, and so we're under pacing for the first time tonight. You see right now, Demos got himself away from it rather well with the safety caution, all things considered. And so Demos is going to find himself in the middle of the pack. No faster pairs now in the IORA Cup Series, so this will be a detrimental issue for the 87. Hopefully he can recover as the night goes on, but of course, no guarantee. Aiden Walker leads the way, River Page in second, and Shay Schaefer finds himself now finding out the podium, of course, in third. Number 2 machine right behind, that's Gavin Austin. Although it says he's in 0.22 on the timing screen, he finds himself now up in front in 4th. John Rowe rounds out the top 5, and Jacob Wilkerson with MVP 6, with Mike Mitchum currently in 7th. We'll restart for lap number 6, our first restart of the night, and hopefully one of our only. Track conditions, when we talk about the weather tonight, it's going to be rather mild overall, but that track temperature is particularly warm. 84 degrees Fahrenheit on the ambient temp and 106 on the track temperature. So with all things considered, it's going to stay warm as the night progresses. Now, timing screen right up there. 4 laps in out of 100. Aiden Walker to the points. The rest of the field coming with him. The 93 still looking for his first win in the modern era, the IORA Cup Series, second in the regular season championship last season, of course, and he finished off, unfortunately, not in the title fight. Daniel Mosteller and Jacob Wilkerson broke away, and it was eventually, of course, the 3-time champion now, and Daniel Mosteller, who got the job done. To play it back now, since we have a little bit of time, this is how your qualifying lineup looked. Had Mike Mitchum on the pole position, well, no longer, of course. He finds himself, in fact, behind Daniel Mosteller and Aiden Walker. Demos wrecking gives Walker P1 for the time being, and you saw River Page and Lars Kennewick starting up front. John Rowe is still in fifth, and Chase Schaefer has now made his way up inside the podium. A little bit further behind, Mitchum, Austin, Jacob Wilkerson, Corbin Collins, Henry Kaloff, and Vincent Guecci, including the top 10. And then from there, you saw, of course, 11th on back. Aladon Contreras, Jason Cemento, James Thurston, Terrell Baker, Elijah Innes, and Devins Baker. To end out the field, you'll have drivers like Jaden Hall making his first career start, Lex Anderson, who's in the number 67, Corey Lyles, and Aaron Schugel, the Kaloff Dice Racing duo that came out of the JFR Enterprise, Alexander Balderas, and Braxton Whitaker. Just a little bit further behind, Yahir Rodriguez, Andres Varas, Will Shack, Trevor Huff, Trey Kinsey, and Chase Crawl, the first time that number 62 out on track in his IORA Cup Series career as well. Lastly, Luigi Gonzalez, Wayne Kennedy, and Michael Deitch, the last men to register. We're buying a new microphone right now, and we should have it replaced before halfway into this event. Apologies for what ended up being a tricky start for tonight's race, but it looks like now that we can see and hear what's going on, we can bring you the rest of the coverage. Restart number 1 sees Aiden Walker on the high side, and he'll have the clear edge into turns 1 and 2. A car length plus over the rest of the field. Gavin Austin takes P2 from Chase Schaefer. The 93 of Walker now heading into turns 3 and 4. Just behind him, of course, you're going to see Chase Schaefer and Mike Mitchum. The battle just to end out the podium here going to be rather strong. Sean Rowe and that number 29 making it through. Probably right on board with the man, though, who's running right behind him. That's the number 43 of Jacob Wilkerson. Take a ride on board now with this EPI Toyota Supra. Chase Schaefer placing a block there in the number 43, but no contact. Last time we came to this track, and as a matter of fact, the last 2 times, Chase Schaefer has proven victorious in multiple configurations. The only exception being the SuperSpeedway race last season where Alexander Balderas got the job done. But last time, the 2008 configuration, as you see it, was put into use. Schaefer was the man who got the job done. And before that, he came through what was IORA's closest ever finish, a 2/1000th of a second victory over Mason Moriarty in the Season 4 event, and it came down to the line between those 2 drivers. Gavin Austin and Aiden Walker now side by side, advantage number 2, and it looks like now Gavin making his way through the corners just a little better. The 88 of Vincent Guecci gets up to second place. Walker now fades back to the bottom step of the podium, and you'll have Jacob Wilkerson running 5th as it stands, right behind Mike Mitchum. Notable gains, of course, for Vincent Guecci. He's now making his way further and further up the ladder from 12th to 3rd. So far, the biggest mover inside the top 10, up 9 positions on the day. A very strong start for Guecci. It looks like for now, of course, he's got himself in a wonderful spot to keep things moving. Terrell Baker also trying to get himself up, qualifying outside of the top 15 to 7th place already. Baker, in only his 2nd ever IORA Cup Series start, is now making the move to fight Chase Schaefer and Sean Rowe. Baker finds himself right now about a second off of your race leader, Gavin Austin. Austin leading laps under green in his first start of the season. Gavin Austin's been a part-time driver with us ever since Season 2. His last victory coming in that season nearly 3 years ago, the Talladega SuperSpeedway. So tonight, the driver in that number 2 is looking for his 2nd ever IORA Cup Series win, and it would be one of the longest series. Austin, number 12, and it's still going to be the number 2 up in front. Further back, you'll have Aiden Walker. Still battling each other. Walker real close there to Mike Mitchum. all stay right where they need to be. Very little trouble for now. And as we try to get this new microphone in, yellow flag is out for the second time tonight. It's Devins Baker. Baker with issues. Here's an instant replay. Spinning out of turns 1 and 2, and it looks like nobody else involved there as he went down to the inside of the track alone. So, second caution in the first 13 laps. Unfortunately, some roadblocks to start the night, but Gavin Austin looking consistent as ever. Gavin, Aiden, and Michael. That's the 1, 2, 3 now making their way in, and it's about time we head to pit road to see exactly what's going on. Expecting to see 4 tires and fuel to keep things moving tonight. Now with 100 laps on the table, and as we see, usually no fuel limit in this league, there's a perfect opportunity now for strategy to come into play with green flag circumstances. 1 pit stop is still expected from here, even if we go all the way on. It looks like pit stops are going to be expected in the multitudes tonight. 6 of the proceeding. Then you'll have Mike Mitchum, Braxton Whitaker, Jacob Wilkerson all coming through. Vincent Guecci's number 88 leads the way. Chase Schaefer now a quarter of a second back, and that's because, of course, we're in pacing. Let's talk a little bit now about that pit strategy. Currently, only 3 drivers are leaving themselves out. That's Vincent Guecci, Chase Schaefer, and James Thurston. So they're going to be taking the biggest risk of all, and it looks like for the time being, no one else has chosen to do so. We're working on getting that new microphone hooked up to the studio here. Apologies again for the inconvenience, but for the rest of the way here, we'll have things working out just right. It'll be Chase Schaefer following Vincent Guecci to lead this second restart of the night. iRacing official pace car has them double file. It's about time we go moving once more. Restart number 16, your second of the day. And now as we go for restart number 2, we're plugging in this brand new headset and microphone. So we're hoping it's going to work. Green flags on its way. Guecci gets things moving. Testing right now, and it looks like we have something connected. As it's going to be side by side, Guecci, but it looks like it will be race leader now, Aiden Walker to the points. Take a ride on board now. It's second place Wilkerson as he goes out there for the race lead. out. Still, no big progress here. Apologies for these latencies, but it looks like the new microphone we have is not working, so we have a bigger problem here. Nevertheless, it'll be Gavin Austin leading the way, Aiden Walker, who is in second, and Jacob Wilkerson in third. So it will now be Austin, Walker, Wilkerson, the 1-2-3 combination. A little bit further back, there's Alexander Valderas running in fifth. Valderas making some big gains. For Valderas, looking for his first top 5 of the season. Valderas, of course, the last man to win at Atlanta in any configuration, and that configuration, instead of being the mile-and-a-half traditional intermediate, was the mini super speedway. And while he was able to get through a massive wreck to get to that point, well, he can't bank on such a crazy circumstance happening once again. In fact, it's likelier as the night goes on that he'll fade back. As it stands, Gavin Austin, though, is still topping away, 21 laps in out of 100. The best start that we've ever seen out of Gavin Austin here, and impressive that he's made such big moves so early. One of the very first times we've had him up here at these non-super speedway tracks, and he's been able to live up to a little bit more than what we've seen out of him in the past here. Aiden Walker going to find himself P2, and speaking of Gavin Austin, some connection problems now, and Austin disconnected from the lead. Client manually disconnected is the synopsis according to iRacing diagnostic system. So he just left. Whether or not it was out of his own accord or other connection troubles, can't quite tell. But that means Aiden Walker has inherited the race lead. Aiden Walker, 23 laps in, now to the point in a very interesting case for that Gavin Austin machine. For the very first time we've seen him up here dominating, he now falls out of the field, and that looks to be his night. Multiple laps down as it stands, and it'll be the number 93 of Walker taking it from here. Wilkerson is second, Mike Mitchum is third, Alexander Valderas is now up to fourth, and Valderas is looking for what could be his third career victory if he stays up in front tonight. Talk about an exciting circumstance for the 95 here. But look further back, you've got Yahir Rodriguez, second-year driver in that number 16. Well, he had a few top 5 runs last season, wasn't able to get the execution for any podiums or race victories, but already Rodriguez is showing strong once more. Notably, he's had some pretty good races at these mile-and-a-half type tracks before. We saw him burst onto the scene, of course, in his first ever season to end 2024. But now we're starting to see whether or not he'll become one of those future regulars. A lot of drivers here are still cutting their teeth in this league, and that's what makes it more exciting. The veterans, of course, have been here since the very beginning. For the time being, they're going to have to fight against the new drivers as they're slowly but surely creeping up front. Mitchum is one of them. He only made a total of 6 starts last season, able to get 3 pole positions and 1 race victory. Now it looks like Mitchum finds himself running up inside the podium once again, and the 38 here, as we ride on board, goes toe-to-toe for the race lead. He's staying in the back seat for now, but he's got a perfect view of what's to come. Mike Mitchum in the place to be right now when it comes to fighting for the race win. Just a few moments away from getting an opportunity, but 27 laps in out of 100, I think it would be rash to call it the fight for the race win. More accurately anyway, it's the fight for the race lead. Still more than 70 laps remain for drivers to get to grips with their strategy, figure out what the right final moves are, and go from there. Progression throughout the race is going to be evident in terms of strategic calls, and what's working right now might not work at the end of the race. Lars Kenowitz, for instance, in 6th place here, qualified and started strong, but faded back after getting involved in that first caution ever so slightly. Daniel Mosteller, by the way, is running in the 30th place as a result of that kerfuffle, and the 87 machine surely reeling from the early injury. Still looking for a top 5 finish to get that momentum back in the 87. The 3-time and defending champion surely has bigger expectations and wants to keep on succeeding, although right now it looks like another race that'll go down the drain. Aiden Walker going to lead ever so slightly. Jacob Wilkerson still stays on that quarter panel, going to say front to back, 1, 2, 3. Mike Mitchum keeping the gap between the podium only within a quarter of a second for now. So very small differences overall. Jacob Wilkerson going to find himself P2, smack in the middle here. While he's gotten a few chances to lunge in and take the race lead, he has not been able to capitalize yet. 30 laps in at a lap 100. Darrell Baker's fighting to stay inside the top 10, and this is a multi-driver battle involving a few teammates. You'll see there the 91 of the 63. Henry Kaloff is the 63, and Aaron Schugel is the 91, both driving for Kaloff Dice Racing. They're a multi-car team week in, week out, and of course the 56 of Corey Lyles also racing with them today, although it looks like right now Lyles is further back in 21st. The fight for the top 10 remains real close between these drivers, and it looks like right now, although Hugo's been able to break away, Darrell Baker's still looking to get up inside there. Elijah Innes up top takes it for 11th now, and Baker falls back to P12. To the inside, Aaron Schugel. Now going to see Elijah Innes make another position gain. And that puts Innes up to P10. A third of the way through, the number 67 of Alex Anderson going to find himself in the single digits here. Anderson, for the first time since Season 2, is back in a full-time capacity here in the IORA Cup Series. And very exciting to see Anderson's grand return. Of course, the IORA Cup Series and the IORA Racing League as a whole, founded by Anderson, and he was an instrumental part of the very first few seasons. And after a few seasons away from the wheel, it looks like he's back, and he's been strong so far. Ninth place as it stands. Aaron Schugel, Elijah Innes, Terrell Baker finds himself 12th. Henry Kaloff will be 13th, and 14th place goes to Chase Schaefer now. Schaefer falling back a little bit more compared to where he started, but that's because it looks like he's on a different stint of strategy. According to our timing and scoring, he is the very oldest in terms of tires. He's on his original 33-lap stint. That means that he's got worn-out stuff, although now he passes Henry Kaloff, and that puts him up to 13th. On a 34-lap run, every driver ahead of him right now is on a 20-lap run. It means that for Schaefer to be up here, he is one of a kind relative to the rest of the pack. Jacob Wilkerson is 0.2 of a second behind here. Mike Mitchum going to stay right on him, keeping the pressure on the backside. You can see now as we look from the rear view perspective of the number 43, Mitchum is not going to let him get away easy. Mitchum remains firmly inside the podium here. Hudson Sangster, Howie, and of course all those else who have come into the chat room, welcome in for the night. We're just getting started, and good news is we should have our microphone issues fixed for the next broadcast. It looks like for the time being, unfortunately, we'll have to stick through this event until we get things figured out, but 9:30 p.m. Eastern at the Highline Racing League next event, we'll have things settled in for certain. The Highline Racing League goes racing for its currently third race of the campaign. It's been an exciting schedule so far for both of our Thursday night leagues, but the IORA Racing League, we know where they go. The Highline Racing League keeps us on their toes with a randomized schedule. So we don't really know where we'll be racing next, but we do know we'll be racing at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So keep that in mind live on FTN. If you like the coverage you're seeing right now and you're looking to see a little bit of a better microphone back in action, stay with us all night long. We've got another race coming up, and it'll be with the Gen 6 stock cars. A very exciting combination to bring back whatever track we end up at. John Rowe stays in 5th. Yair Rodriguez is 6th. And Aladon Contreras is P7. Alexander Balderas finds himself 8th with 9th place. Then Alex Anderson and Aaron Schugel rounds out the top 10. Schugel finding himself the only of the Cal Octane racing cars to make it up to that point so far. Maybe a chance to see his teammates in there later, but for the time being, he is lonely up at the top. Henry Caloff has been passed by a few drivers successively. That'll bring him back into the 14th place. Then you'll have Daniel Mosteller up high with a lapper not in the conversation tonight. Now, thanks to Gavin Austin's retirement, the 87 finds himself in 29th place. And it looks like he might be able to salvage a top 25 just if there's a little bit more chaos. No guarantees and no promises for that 87. But his season rival, of course, the end 2024, is now doing great. Go to the inside on Jacob Wilkerson, and the 43 now surging out in the head. Wilkerson just ahead now of Aiden Walker. And it looks like for the first time here, we've seen a little bit of a change up and ahead. Mike Mitchum rounds out the podium. Kinowitz still watches in that number 19. And Sean Rose in 5th with Yair Rodriguez and Aladam Contreras. Alexander Balderas has gone from a high of 4th position, now back to 8th. Not a bad place to be at all for Balderas, but it looks like that top 5 high has run dry now. He'll find himself fading a little bit further, maybe back into a more realistic position here for the 95 team. Contact, Contreras and Rodriguez. The 92 right now, that Contreras just getting the edge and going to the inside. John Rowe is going to be 5th. Still giving that pressure to the 19. Kinowitz is hanging on strong, but your Daytona winner is looking again for a top 5. Rowe finally getting that victory. He looked for it last season. It was very close for the season Daytona event, but it looked like, of course, this season, things went one position better. It made all the difference. Now, Rowe's looking for another top 5 and maybe his second podium of the season. No guarantees that he's going to let through. Kinowitz is still defending strong, but Rowe is putting that pressure on, and now out of turn 4, gets a real good run, side by side at the line, advantage 29. Very close there, but just enough of an edge. 42 laps in, out of 100. It's currently Jacob Wilkerson who finds himself leading. Aiden Walker 2nd, Mike Mitchum 3rd. Drivers at the front of the field, with the exception now of Chase Schaefer and James Thurston, are running on a 28-lap strategy call, which started with that second yellow flag. As a result, we're expecting to see one more pit stop for everyone, no matter who's running what strategy call. Chase Schaefer, who's now 43 laps in, will likely go down by the halfway point, if not a little bit later. So he'll go in from lap 50 to lap 60 to get that one and only pit stop he's hoping to go for. He finds himself now running in a train that leads all the way up to 4th place Sean Rowe, which shows that even with the old rubber, Schaefer remains competitive, which is very impressive, but it doesn't mean he's going to hang on for the next 10 or so laps. All things considered, he's been making slight gains, and if he can just keep that momentum up, he got an opportunity again to go further. But he'll need a perfect pit stop to keep him in the mix. For the rest of the field, though, when we talk about pit stops, they can go in practically whenever they would like, especially with some 20 laps of an advantage compared to Chase Schaefer. And that advantage will come into play big time as the night goes on. Jacob Wilkerson taking the race lead, getting the wall ever so slightly. It's been Wilkerson, Walker, and Gavin Austin, the 3 drivers who have led at least 2 laps on the day. And again, unfortunately, Gavin Austin bowing out from the race lead, and perhaps his strongest ever appearance in the IORA Cup Series. Now he finds himself far from victory. It's very unlikely he even gets back out on track right now. He is 22 laps down and retired in 31st. Wilkerson leads 14/100ths of a second the difference. Yair Rodriguez now going to be going side-by-side again, this time with Alexander Balderas. Balderas looking low in the number 95, and the 16 of Rodriguez right there. And watch out for Daniel Mosteller now. Looks like Demos has a chance to get closer, but again, he'll be looking for those lucky dogs opportunities. He's 10 laps down and 6 laps down to the next driver in Devin Baker. Taking a ride on board with Mosteller. He's got a real good view of this fight, but by no means is he a part of it. Making it by Rodriguez, the next goal here. 47 laps, 10 out of 100, though. Caution is out once again for the third time tonight. It'll be Terrell Baker who goes sliding. And with Baker heading around, the yellow flag's out again. Caution's out. Baker outside the top 20 now as a consequence. Here's a replay which will show you what happened. Contact with Elijah Innes. Both drivers striking down the apron. 25 at Baker hops up and over, and Innes gets back on the track. And now the yellow flag is out for the third time today. Minor incident. Brief contact, all things considered. Now looks like the field is ready to settle it once more. Pacing once again with Jacob Wilkerson, your race leader. We'll take a little bit of time under yellow to try to figure out one last time whether or not we can get this alternate microphone to work. And we'll bring you some promotional messages from our friends at iRacing.com. For more than 16 years now, iRacing has led the simulation racing game with top-level quality in cars and track and everything that makes the sim racing experience possible. Now as drivers go in for what could be the most pivotal stops of the day, back with remaining coverage live on FTN. You're watching the IORA Cup Series at Atlanta, and we'll be right back after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
"50 laps remaining. We're entering the second half now from the Atlanta, of course, Motor Speedway, and it'll be the IORA Cup Series bringing you the rest of the action. Currently, it's going to be Mike Mitchum and Aiden Walker who find themselves on the front row, and they're ready to get back to work once again. Both drivers have been up front for the majority of the night. Wilkerson, no exception. He'll be in third to get this ball rolling once more. And so we'll see the very competitive and very upfront drivers return where they are. Halftime coming to a close now. Aiden Walker, Mike Mitchum side by side, and the green flag is out once again. Walker with the advantage, and so we go into turns 1 and 2 with a 93 on top. Mike Mitchum is going to keep the heat on, and it looks like he won't give up in the slightest, even though Walker clearly got that better restart. And now he'll dive to the inside, already making his point. Mitchum going for the race lead. This will be the second win of his career, and for Aiden Walker, it'll be his first in this modern era. Lars Kenowith is staying here with Jacob Wilkerson, and they'll keep each other honest going 2 by 2. Aladon Contreras concludes the top 5, and if you take a ride on board with the 92, you'll see exactly what's going on with this Supra. And it looks like right now, he, much like Alexander Balderas did many a lap ago, has the best seat in the house. Single file. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, including Aladon Contreras here with 48 laps remaining. Jay Schaefer staying with Alexander Balderas, and it looks like now the 99 is just ahead of him. Yair Rodriguez lays low and gives the 99 as Schaefer an opportunity here, but it won't be enough, of course, to get up to the top 5 just yet. But don't rush Schaefer, because now that he's got track position and he's even on tire, he might be the fastest driver on the circuit. And I think that from what we saw before, where he was gaining spots with significantly older tire, he might just be the driver to go out and win this one by virtue of perfect strategy. As perfect as they can get with 3 cautions before the second half. Aladon Contreras going to block, but with Schaefer coming through on the high side, there's nothing you can do when the driver is simply quicker off exit. And that's the strategy that this number 99 has gone for continuously now. Aladon Contreras lays down low. Jacob Wilkerson is going to be just ahead, and Aiden Walker too. And those are both targets on the mind of the 99 if he wants to make continuous gains. Lars Kenowith is now going to be up to second place, the highest spot he's ever run in his IORA Cup Series career. And so far, doing a wonderful job tonight in what could be a career race for the 19 crew. Aiden Walker, Jacob Wilkerson right behind, both drivers not quitting. And Jay Schaefer, who's going to be in 5th here, heads up to the top. Aladon Contreras lays low. Coming out of corner number 2, Chase Schaefer with the advantage, and Alexander Balderas chasing, ends up in the wall. A little bit of contact there for the 95, and he looks to be good to go to continue on, but Sean Rowe will keep him right there. 45 laps remaining and still counting down here. It's been a quick race, and we're already getting close to that tail end. Pit stops in effect have come and gone, and now it looks like there's a perfect chance for Mike Mitchum to break through. These are the laps he has if he wants to get away from Chase Schaefer, who's still making gains here. Schaefer is caught up in traffic, but it doesn't mean he's quit making moves as he makes another heading down to the inside now on the 43. Wilkerson just ahead. Aladon Contreras now pulls better out of that outside groove, and it looks like Chase Schaefer's medicine served right up against him once again. Tension now as Alexander Balderas tries to take it 3 wide, but can't quite stick it. One driver has to give, but it looks like again it'll be Chase Schaefer now. And all that positive momentum being turned into going backwards. Sean Rowe side by side now with Thurston. You'll see the 96 Ford Mustang hanging high, and your Daytona race winner lies just below him. Aaron Schugel also coming through. Schugel's in 10th. Corey Lyles is in 13th. Henry Kaloff is in 16th. So 3 of the 4 drivers this team has come to offer are running in front, and they're in the top 15 fight, more or less. Michael Deitch now is 30th and 15 laps down after starting this race late. And so it looks like he's gotten past Gavin Austin, but he hasn't gotten up to Daniel Mosteller, who is 7 down currently and still waiting for that miracle in the 29th place. He's gotten up into the 20s, but that's just about all the 87 can talk about tonight. in a positive sense. Otherwise, he's been in a horrible position, and it's going to come back to bite him in the regular season points race, especially if that 87 doesn't turn things around. Mike Mitchum now leads by more than a half second. Lars Kennowitz stays P2. Aiden Walker is in third, with Jacob Wilkerson now fourth. Alexander Valderas and Aladam Contreras are fifth and sixth. Chase Schaefer is going to find himself, of course, rounding out that Super 7. Thurston getting a little bit closer now to Schaefer. If we ride on board with the number 96, we'll see exactly what he's doing. No gear shifting at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but unlike its modern configuration, where it's almost like a super speedway, you have to get off the gas pedal at least just a bit. Not necessarily a full throttle track, but you can put a lot of power down, especially through the exits of the corners. That's what Thurston has done here as he gets himself out of 4, but Schaefer with a much better drive off there, as you can see. This is where consistency counts. Schaefer, again, driving it all the way down to the bottom and putting some great power in this line under Aladam Contreras. Contreras has no choice but to concede, and Schaefer's back in 6th here. All the while, Mike Mitchum is still gaining on the rest of the pack. 7/10 of a second lead as he'll come now for lap number 63. Clear as day that Mike Mitchum has the stuff now to keep the race lead and hold it as his own. Lars Kennowitz stays second. Alexander Valderas, though, watch out now for that number 95, as it looks like he's looking for a podium. He gets squeezed to the outside and can't make it stick, but Valderas is proving again he's a serious threat in Georgia. The Houston, Texas native has shown his best performance at this track in the past. The last IORA Cup Series win came at this circuit in its super speedway configuration. So it would be amazing for the 95 to do it again, but in its traditional mile-and-a-half style. Maybe more unexpected if he does so tonight, but he's keeping Aiden Walker right there at bay. Walker coming through the inside, had a better drive into turns 1 and 2, but as long as Valderas continues to pull it on the outside, that's all he'll need to keep it competitive. Jacob Wilkerson is going to find himself once again in the fight, trying to get inside the top 3, but still no dice. James Thurston now up to 8th. John Rowe, 9th. Yair Rodriguez ends the top 10 lineup here, but a little bit of contact. Rodriguez sent up the line. And that was Aaron Schugel. His teammate Corey Lyles catching up to him now, and you'll see the KDR guys fighting to get inside the top 10. Rodriguez has the final spot in this top 10, of course, and it looks like now he's going to see 2 teammates, no less, coming at him for it. Never is it easy to make things work out when you're alone against the team, but for Yair Rodriguez, who's a part-time driver, that's when it becomes even more challenging. Currently, it looks like for Rodriguez, he has what it takes to defend, but it doesn't mean anything, of course, if he can't hang on for the next 35 laps. We're anticipating that our final pit stops have come and gone, so now Mike Mitchum just has to hold out and be the best driver he can possibly be. And so far, he's done a great job at that as he looks forward to what could be his second win in his IORA Cup Series career. Lars Kennowitz second, Jacob Wilkerson third, and it will be Chase Schaefer finds himself fourth. So Schaefer's been able to make it up inside of that podium conversation, but it looks like right now the race win is going to be admittedly far-fetched. In large part, that just comes from the complications of getting things going a little bit later and having that old strategy, the old tires that held him back to start with. And that's something that I'm sure he doesn't necessarily regret, but if he could do things over, he might have just gone with the rest of the pack. He hung on for a top 15 before the caution, but to even get up to the podium, it's taken in the next 20-plus laps. That's a lot of time to give away in only a 100-lap race when Mike Mitchum is continuing to make up 10th after 10th after 10th and is nearly 3/4 of a second away from the next driver. Lars Kennowitz is trying to keep that gap stagnant, though, but it looks like still some minor gains are being made Perhaps Lars is not the driver to go out there and fight for the win, and instead you'll see that from Schaefer or Wilkerson, who are now making it a double trouble case for the 19. Lars has to continue looking back. It looks like right now, the more you look behind, the more you see either the 99 or the 43. Both are right there, and they're not going to make it any easier for that Toyota Supra ahead of them. Chase Schaefer is notably strong using the bottom groove and working his way through the straightaway wherever he is on the straight, either high or low. We're seeing him go all the way down to the paint groove at the bottom of the track, and that was a line popularized by multi-time Atlanta Motor Speedway winner Kevin Harvick. Harvick's first ever NASCAR Cup Series race win came at this venue in his third career start. The number 29 team for Richard Childress Racing put into existence after Dale Earnhardt's tragic passing in the 2001 Daytona 500. Harvick ended up a full-time competitor in the Cup Series and Xfinity Series that season, and ended up getting a top 10 finish in points in 2001 for the Cup Series and being the dominant man in the Busch, now Xfinity Series, and coming away with the title. In Harvick's third ever race, he bested Jeff Gordon in a photo finish, and he was using that inside groove, which he ended up using for the next 2 decades of his career to incredible effects. When a driver understands a track, sometimes it just clicks. It's beyond the specific groove. It's beyond the competition. It just comes down to a driver's intuition at the circuit, which, if we talk about Chase Schaefer in a similar vein to Kevin Harvick, I'd have to say the comparison is most accurate at this track. He knows these grooves. He knows how to manipulate them to get the most success out of a race. And he's proven so successful at it here that he's done it time and time again, and he will be looking for his third IORA Cup Series win in Georgia. Of course, he succeeds tonight. With 29 laps to go, and the gap between Mike Mitchum and company slowly but surely diminishing, well, it looks like now it could be the 99's opportunity to take the victory. Michael Mitchum has to look behind, and he'll start seeing it. Lars Kinowith has halved the gap in 5 laps, from what was 0.7 of a second down to what is only a half second, and at times it's within 0.4 of a second. Kinowith is evidently making gains, and if you're right there in front, Mike Mitchum, you got to wonder, what are you doing wrong? Is there anything you can do to recover? Well, right now, do you have to sit back, watch, and begin to defend? Looks like defense might have to be the next option, and the last option perhaps to be taken. The 99 is Schaefer, finding himself third, and Wilkerson in fourth. It looks like now Chase is only about 1 second away from the race lead. Mitchum slipping up ever so slightly, but it looks like a quick recovery to build 0.6 up back again, and we'll start seeing that back and forth become more prominent in the final laps, and we'll see if Mike Mitchum has enough to push his way to victory. 26 laps to go this time by. Alexander Baldera stays inside the top 5, but it looks like that number 43 of Wilkerson, well, he's going to find himself just ahead. Aladam Contreras is P6, Aaron Schugel 7th, Aiden Walker 8th, and Sean Rowe in P9 here. Thurston falls back again to 10th place exactly, and with Yahir Rodriguez putting that pressure right behind him, we might see this position swap as well. Rodriguez has been right there at the back of the top 10 all throughout the night. Not necessarily putting all too much pressure on those drivers around him, but he has been keeping them honest for position. And now Rodriguez looks for the single digits. He'll try to get to 10th first, and it looks like he'll stick the pass. That's going to be Yahir Rodriguez, P10 now. Mike Mitchum leads now 0.7 of a second once again. And from what looked to be maybe a diminishing race lead, well now, it looks like the number 19 is fading back once again, and it's only good for one man, that number 38, who's up in front. Looking to finish the job for his second ever IORA Cup Series win. Mitchum has been dominant tonight, but Chase Schaefer now stuck in a little bit of a racing purgatory. Mitchum just has to finish it off with less than 25 laps to go. Aladam Contreras is 6th. Side by side is Alexander Balderas here. Balderas goes high again, that number 95. And it looks like at the line, he'll have a chance to stick it for 5th. Still not going to be a done deal, but either way, he'll take it at the line. With 23 laps to go this time through, we have 22 laps left. And as always, live on FTN, we'd like to shout out our camera providers at Whiplash Sim Cams for bringing these wonderful camera angles all night long. Thank you for tuning in live on FTN Broadcasting for tonight's coverage in Atlanta. The IORA Cup Series has been with us since 2022, but we're lucky to have Whiplash Sim Cams coming on for 2025 and beyond. Extending thanks to the Pit Stop TV guys for inviting us to the Whiplash family, joining notable broadcasters such as the Elite Racing League Network and P1 Broadcasting in this move. The best broadcasters are taking notice, and now we're moving toward Whiplash Sim Cams. And with 22 laps to go, let's crank it up from Georgia, live and unfiltered, brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams. "17 laps remaining now. Aiden Walker finds himself race leader, but as you might have noticed through our cameras, it's now Chase Schaefer who finds himself up and in front, of course, of those who went down a pit road. That's right, pit stop cycle is now on its way with less than 20 laps remaining, and many a driver are taking a chance. Trey Kinsey and Jason Hall now making their way in, both of which being rookies. Currently, however, it looks like Aiden Walker is trying to hold out. He, Bro, Rodriguez, and Balderas are looking to try and go the distance here. Right now, Walker is on a 36-lap run, as is the remainder of the top 5. Currently, it looks like the entirety of your top 10 is still not gone down and in. Jacob Wilkerson is one of the first drivers who has, however. He's now on a 4-lap stint and looks to be the leader of those on New River. Chase Schaefer, as it stands, and at number 99 is going to be a little bit further behind. Currently scored 2 laps down in 27. So it looks like he had a minute plus on pit road and made a massive mistake on his way in. We saw him burning rubber on that crank it up camera. And it's going to cost him massively. 15 laps remaining and still counting down. Aiden Walker is trying to risk it all and hang on till the very end. 14 laps to go. A 50-lap stint is the goal. It's not impossible. I think someone in this grouping who's still out could do it. Namely, Alexander Balderas. I would be shocked if Balderas gives up on this strategy call. So many times before, we've been presented with this circumstance, and Balderas has tried time and time again to make the long strategy work. We've gone to tracks like Charlotte where we've had 120-lap races, and even then, Balderas has tried to go 50-plus and try to go the distance. It hasn't always worked, but I think now that he's going to stick it out, and I wouldn't be surprised if others join him, but the most dedicated of all will be that 95, while leader number 93, of course, 0.4 of a second back, be Sean Rowe. 88 laps in, coming up to the 90s in the very tail end of this race. So far, it looks like 30 drivers are still on track, going back to Michael Deitch, who just went into pit road. He is 18 laps down as it stands. Rest of the field fights on. Daniel Mosteller is still 7 down. Wayne Kennedy is 6 laps down. And as a result of the pit stop cycle, we have multiple drivers from 19th to 27th, all 1 lap down. There is Jaden Hall, who just went down to pit road in his first career race, looking for a top 20. And Elijah Innes is one of the final drivers on the lead lap. You'll see him here fighting with, among others, Corbin Collins, Aladam Contreras, and Lars Kinowitz. Lars right now going to be one of those drivers on new rubber. And it looks like slowly but surely more drivers have given in. And now you'll see 9 of your top 10 on old tire, and only 1 who's broken in. That man right now is the 43 of Jacob Wilkerson, and he's gotten up inside the top 10. Sean Rowe, meanwhile, Aiden Walker, of course, both are still out. Time to spare with 10 laps to go, but so far, since they've made it into the 90s, they only have 15 miles left to finish the job. It's a 42-lap stint so far for Aiden Walker, but making an immaculate strategy workout takes dedication. He's gotten far, but it's far from done. Walker will be looking for his first win of the season and a necessary win if he wants to fight for a championship. He has proven a consistent driver, but he hasn't yet proven that he's one of those guys who can go out there and win time after time. Second place finishes, he's seen a litany of them in the last year, and unfortunately, he just hasn't been able to make his way up and take that top position. The goal remains, of course, to defy those expectations tonight, and as he comes across the line now with only 8 laps to go, Walker will not give. And so we'll see whether or not Sean Rowe decides to turn it up ever so slightly here, as he notices now we're coming toward a real possibility of finishing under green. Alexander Balderas finds himself 5th now. James Thurston's going to be P4. Questions out! Yellow flag for Aaron Schugel. Have a less than 5-lap shootout to finish this race. Here's your instant replay. Schugel in a 91. Lars Kinowitz slides down the track, destroyed in the front end. It's a race ender there for the 91. Your 4th and potentially final caution of the night. iRacing pace car back on the track, and we're expecting now to see drivers head down to pit road. The green flag finish not going to come to be tonight. And instead, you'll see Walker, Rowe, Anderson, Thurston, Balderas, all of which are now going to go down and in. And that effectively sacrifices their chance for the race win. Next driver to look for would be Mike Mitchum on an 11-lap run he would take the race lead if everyone else who's held out goes down a pit road immediately. And it looks like that's going to be the call made on the field here. And everyone comes with. Aiden Walker now getting a perfect opportunity to keep the fight alive as pit road gets busy for the most important stop of the night. 93 coming down and in, as does Sean Rowe. Leaders with the advantage, but will they come out the same? Everyone has entered. And we're waiting to see that exit. Coming out of line, it'll be Aiden Walker clearing away, followed by Sean Rowe, then James Thurston, Alex Anderson, Trevor Huff, Yahir Rodriguez, Vincent Guecci, Alexander Balderas, Mike Mitchum, and Jacob Wilkerson. That is the lineup that could finish this race in a 4-lap dash. Field catches up to the iRacing official pace car, and before we get green one more time, we're going to bring you our final promotional message of the day, courtesy of our friends, of course, of the channel, including our primary sponsor for the next race on the channel at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Westlake Royal Building Products. We'll be right back after this, and we'll explain our 4-lap to go circumstance and what it entails for the driver. Stay with us live on FTN. We'll return after this.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
With only 4 laps remaining, this will not count as an overtime attempt. Any caution from this point onward, however, will send us into green-white checker territory and extend the race beyond its originally anticipated 100 laps. So keep that in mind. If a yellow flag comes out, the race will go beyond its expected territory and will go beyond lap 100, which could mean up to 3 attempts if absolutely necessary. Aiden Walker and James Thurston now find themselves on the controlling row. Walker is looking for his first win. We haven't seen it from him in several seasons. He's trying to get back in front, proving that the checkered flag is something he can indeed achieve. Right behind him and now beside him is James Thurston, dominant on Saturday night and looking to bring that action back as a former series champion. Green flags out. Walker with the edge now. 4 laps remaining. We're back on our way in Atlanta. Contact from Thurston. That'll send him right down the order and give Sean Rowe a shot. Sean's going to find himself now making a move up on the high side. With him will be James Thurston, of course, and Aiden Walker gets the advantage, the biggest of all, as everyone else fades behind him. Coming to 3 laps to go, this time by. Vincent Guecci fights now with Trevor Huff and company. Mike Mitchum still there. Alexander Balderas at the very end of the top 10 line with Yahir Rodriguez and Aladam Contreras also there with. Aiden Walker still has himself advantageous here, but Rowe is getting closer, and it looks like the same 2 drivers who led before the caution have a chance to do it all over again. Mitchum, Wilkerson diving deep on each other. The 43 went to the inside, the 38 up high, and they meet each other in the middle. Michael now up inside of the top 6, trying to get up to 5th here on Vincent Guecci. 2 laps remaining now. It'll be Aiden Walker who finds himself seeing the yellow flag. We're going to overtime. Devins Baker spins. Contact. Bringing out the caution. Baker was in the back of the field to begin with, so we'll show you what else caused it. It looks like Jason Semedo turned. As he goes through the grass, the yellow flag flies. So we'll be going to overtime, which brings us beyond our lap 100 expected finishing point. That means 2 more laps. When we get to the white flag, this race is official. Aiden Walker is toe-to-toe now with Sean Rowe. If these two run double file, we'll have one final chance to settle things. Let's talk a little bit more about this overtime procedures so you know what to expect as drivers get things going for their final run of the night. This run is only going to consist of 2 laps. If there's a yellow flag, of course, it means the race will extend for the second overtime attempt. But if we get to the white flag, it means the race is over and it'll be checkers or wreckers. The white flag signals no further extension. The yellow flag means we go further and we'll have 3 chances to end under green. And this will be the very first of which. Daniel Mosteller going up high here, still trying to get some laps back. That's the number 87, of course. He goes right up high. And he's going at near race pace, looking for a chance. 4 laps down becomes 3 laps down. He's been fighting for more than 100 laps for this chance. And finally, he's getting something. Taking a while, but it looks like now there might be a reprieve for that number 87 who's waited so long, fixed his damage, and now is no longer at the tail end of the field. Aiden Walker, Sean Rowe, your race leaders. They were due to fight each other before this previous caution came out. They were fighting each other before we got to our overtime action. And now it looks like their battle is inevitable no matter what form it takes place in. 3 laps to go, this time by. And the field will come to only 2 laps remaining here, as the iRacing official pace car will turn its lights off and let the field go at it one more time. Thurston to the bottom, Walker up top, Rowe and Alex Anderson side by side. It's time to finish things strong with 2 laps to go. Aiden Walker's going to have himself the advantage as your control car, but don't count out James Thurston. He's never one to miss on these intermediates, and he's going to prove it again as he gets one last chance to end it. Toe-to-toe, the 93 and the 96. The green flag awaits one last time. Whether or not Walker, of course, will win now just comes down to execution. He's led the second half of this race. Controlled the strategy, has controlled the restarts. He can't mess up. It's do or die now for the number 93, and of all the opportunities he's had to win, this might be the clearest cut and the strongest the 93 team has ever been given. For SKS Motorsports, Aiden Walker gets it going again. 2 laps to go. Walker leads. Contact Vincent Guecci. We could be going to double overtime. He'll save it up on the top of the track. And still, Terrell Baker gets involved. Driver sliding in the back of the field. Elijah Innes and company. We're going to double overtime. The 88 of Guecci here was the first to go nearly around, and it costs us the green flag run. So we'll go for our second attempt, which means we'll get 2 more green flag laps added. We'll extend the race once again. Up high, Terrell Baker was involved. Then you saw Elijah Innes and Corey Lyles. Unfortunately, big damage for some of those guys. Innes, for one, the front end is gone. Terrell Baker in the number 25. Looks like he's got some front end crumpling. And Corey Lyles, same. The hood is gone from that number 56. Daniel Mosteller gets his caution with 1 lap to go. Of course, 1 lap too soon for that yellow. A little bit more time to spare live on FTN before we go green. Drivers, some of which go down to pit road. We're once again waiting. We'll bring you a message from our friends one more time. iRacing.com. Thank you all for tuning in to tonight's coverage of the IORA Cup Series here in Atlanta. As we prepare to get things figured out for our Highline Racing League event very soon, we'll take a brief step back from the microphone and bring you the rest of our green flag coverage right after this. Overtime, double overtime here in Atlanta. You're watching FTN Broadcasting's coverage of the IORA Cup Series. Return right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Once again, special thanks to iRacing Motorsport Simulation. Summer and seasonal sales are coming soon, and we at FTN Broadcasting, as always, will keep you posted on the best discounts you can use to join the iRacing experience. Walker and Thurston remain right with each other for our second overtime attempt. Again, we'll have one more in our back pocket if absolutely necessary. We're just hoping we don't get to that point and we can keep things clean, at least for this next lap, to bring us to the end. Walker's led the past 3 restarts, and he's led them all comfortably. He just has to do it one more time if he wants the victory. Second time, perhaps the charm for Aiden Walker. Looking for, of course, his first race victory of the season, and at long last redemption from what was a bridesmaid campaign in Season 6. Atlanta Motor Speedway has seen multiple overtime finishes in seasons prior, and it already looks like a little bit of a scuffle there. Walker contact with Thurston, 2 laps to go in double overtime. Thurston cuts low. Walker still having it up top, and he'll remain side by side as Sean Rowe goes at it with Mike Mitchum. Further on back, you'll see Trevor Huff taking it 3 abreast here with Lars Kinowith, and further up, Alan Contreras. But if we make it through turns 3 and 4, it's game from there. Thurston rubbing now on the 93 of Aiden Walker. He won't let him get away easy. 1 lap to go. Thurston now with the edge into turn 1. Mike Mitchum also looking to make it a 3-way battle. He'll send the 96 up the track. That'll send Walker even further up high. And Mitchum now makes more contact. They're bleeding on each other, going back and forth. Now they're slamming up and down the track. Aiden Walker gets away, as does James Thurston. But with the 93 staying up on the top, avoiding all the danger, he'll come away with victory. The field implodes in double overtime. Aiden Walker wins in Atlanta. Wow. The 93 at long last finds victory lane. Unbelievable. Aiden Walker with 2 overtime finishes wins, leading 56 laps, the most of anyone on the day. Alex Anderson comes away second with Sean Rowe third and Yahir Rodriguez fourth. Michael Mitchum fifth, Aladam Contreras sixth, James Thurston seventh, Lars Kinowith eighth, and Trevor Huff eighth. Henry Kaloff rounds out the top 10, and then from there you'll see the rest of the field. Page, Schaefer, Collins, David Hall, Jason Semedo, Jacob Wilkerson, Will Shack, Andres Barras, Alexander Balderas, and Braxton Whitaker for the top 20. And your retirees seen as follows from Baker down to Deitch. But now, Aiden Walker burns down the house and celebrates in Atlanta. Walker, celebrating at long last as your race winner tonight. He'll take it down to pit road, and so we'll next get a word from the 93, rest of your podium. Sliding to the start-finish line. And what a way to win for Aiden Walker, finally getting a victory well-deserved. He's been waiting for it now for several seasons, and at long last, the 93 has found the top spot. We'll hear from him right now, and after double overtime and a long strategic game, Aiden Walker, you finally get a victory, a long-awaited one, here in Atlanta. How about tonight's race?
I want that thing over with at the end there, because I would have probably won the race if we didn't have the caution with Schugel before this, but because I was gonna make it on fuel, because I saved just enough to where I was gonna just be right at the line and be good. So then once that caution came out, I was like, it's gonna be just a wreck fest, and it ended up being a wreck fest. But luckily, we weren't a part of any of the wrecks, although we nearly ended up part of one of the wrecks on the front stretch on the last restart. So overall, pretty interesting race. It was really fun too. I still don't like the setup. Very, very tight. But besides that, it was a really fun race racing with Wilkerson and Mitchum at the start, and then I guess you'd say Durston at the end. I will need to look at the replay on the restart there, but overall, really fun race.
And all things considered, not only a race victory, but most laps led on the day as well. So a dominant performance. How was it for you tonight with this intermediate strategy? It looks like you controlled it, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think what mainly helped in the second half, I probably wouldn't have controlled it if it wasn't for me having to save fuel, because I think I had to save like 3 or 4 laps maybe, which wasn't too big of a deal. I've done much more for like tracks like Auto Club, which is a lot harder to save fuel there. But like at the start, I feel like that's where I felt I was most dominant. But then once we got to the end, I was just trying to save fuel, but also try not letting the people at pit, get too close. Because once I realized Wilkerson and River and all of them, I don't even know. Wait, maybe River didn't pit. But once all of them started closing, well, just chipping out the gap slightly. But once I realized like it was 10 to go and they have like still like a 18, 20-second gap, I was like, as long as we don't get a caution, which we ended up having a caution, had a few rage moments also, but yeah, besides that, pretty good car today. I still hate the setup, but besides that, I guess I need to thank my sponsors, Lively's Custom Diecast, Blue Line Tennessee, Coggle Motor Company, SKS Graphics, and everyone watching right now, subscribe to the FTN Broadcasting channel, because he deserves it really badly.
Well, with that said, Aiden, what a race
I
it
always
was
gotta
for you
keep the
tonight. Oh, you're not done?
always keep that tradition. Every
Well,
interview, I'm doing that.
I have to say one more thing. We're going to let you go after this, but we're going to have to ask it, as we always do. Next race on the calendar here, we're going to Pocono Raceway. So, you have any final comments for us before we head to Pennsylvania?
I really have no idea, because Pocono's probably not one of my strong suit tracks. I mean, Atlanta's not really one of my strong suit tracks either. It's just I started to learn how the car really acts here pretty well over the last few years. But Pocono, I don't even think I've driven the Xfinity car there, so that's going to be a little bit of a learning experience. But hopefully next week's as good as this week. But I don't know how it's going to really go. If that long straight into turn one, probably going way too wide into turn one. So,
Well, nevertheless, Aiden Walker, victory tonight, and it's one we've been waiting for. The 93 team on top here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Thank you again for your time.
thank you.
With Alex Anderson, of course, up next, we'll bring in your number 67 and talk to him as he's coming away with a podium that was far from easy to get. The number 67 going from 20th to P2 on the day. What a gain for Alex Anderson as he comes home a quarter second back of victory.
Yeah, I mean, overall, fun race. I did not think I was going to be even remotely close to finishing there. I had a horrible qualifying. And I just kind of hung around the back, saving my stuff. I was probably going to make it to the end on fuel there. I could have won off that, but took tires and I was just kept restarting fourth. And on that last restart, I was just trying to do anything I could. Couple bumps, couple door slams, and Sean Rowe decides there aren't two cars to his inside, and that gives me second. I'll take it.
A great run for you, of course, building up to a podium. We're seeing you come back in a more full-time capacity this year. 20th place you started in, so you found yourself at the back half of the field, but quickly got up to the top 10 even before the first half ended. So did anything in particular click to help you out?
I mean, not really. I knew going into it that it was going to be a tire race, so I was just kind of trying to play that card, and then as soon as that 50 or lap 50 yellow got called, I was like, all right, this is going to be fuel mileage race. So I started saving like lap 63 or 64, and I was just chilling there. Gained more spots as everybody started pitting and people started wearing out their stuff. And I mean, I kind of threw myself in the top five and just kind of never looked back from there.
It looks like tonight, no turning back. A great podium, and it's your best finish of the season. You're getting closer and closer again to IORA Cup Series victory lane. Now, up next is going to be the Pocono Raceway. We haven't been there quite a while. So, last time you were a full-time driver, it was on the schedule as well. How are you feeling about heading back to Long Pond?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm close to victory lane. That was more just like a bunch of like the stars aligned for me to get there. Some of the drivers that are in here, I'll be surprised if I can manage to stay in the top 10 most of these races. But for Pocono, hell, the last time I did an IORA race at Pocono, it was kind of the same situation as this, except instead of fuel, it was tires. I'd saved my stuff. I was way faster than the leaders. I was within half a second of them with two to go, and a yellow came out, and I got killed on the restart, going through turn three on the white flag. So, I mean, if it can go a little bit better than that, I think I'll be happy. But I'm excited for Pocono. It's a fun track.
Maybe a chance to pull it one spot higher. Alex Anderson, second place on the night, your best finish of the season so far. Any final comments you'd like to send out for us?
I want to say shout out to my parents, my biggest sponsors there. Thanks to Drive Through Dav and Cornelius for making my paint schemes. Thanks to Mason for turning this league from the crapshoot that I made it into an actual good league where I am having a lot of fun. So I'll take it. Thanks, David, for the broadcast, and I'll see y'all later.
Alex Anderson, second place on the day and a career high with these Xfinity cars. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Anderson on the move, and we'll hear from your Daytona race winner. It caught up in the wreckage at the very end of it all, but either way, Sean Rowe with another impressive run. It'll be that number 29 who finishes P3. See if he's available for comment here. It doesn't look like currently we have him. We're looking to get a word right now. And if he's available, we'll speak to your third place finisher. But if not, we'll wrap it up on that note. Sean Rowe, 0.3 of a second back on victory, qualified in fifth, made it up 2 places, and he's with us right now. Sean Rowe, you're the bottom step of the podium tonight. You're second of the season. And all things considered, despite the chaos at the end, you came rather close to the checkered flag.
Yeah, got a little messy there at the end, but good run. We'll have to see if I get a penalty or something. I feel like that's definitely going to be a penalty, but I mean, we had a good car, just didn't end it too well. But I don't know, race was pretty fun. Car was fast.
Tonight, qualifying strong at fifth place and keeping it up and ahead. The intermediate speed was clear for you today. And what we saw mostly, even though we had a few cautions to break it up, green flag strategy was a big deal. So how was it for you to manage tires as the night went on, as it looked like fuel seemed to be rather comfortable?
Yeah, Tires, it was pretty hard. I think the first run I did a better job than the second run, but it's really just, you know, you got to pace yourself because you see people flying by you and you're thinking, oh, I got to go. But if you just had a layback and you'd catch them later. But yeah, it was interesting. Not too many races you get to where it's this heavy of tire wear, so that was pretty fun. And then near the end of the race and the last long run we had, getting a little close on fuel, I got bailed out by that yellow, but that's why a lot of people pit there. But you know, me and Walker were doing the fuel thing. He was good, I wasn't, and got lucky. But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty fun. Tire wear was nice, I guess, and fuel was interesting.
Well, with that said, Sean, you get yourself back up to the top three. You've got a top three speak of today and a victory at Daytona. Up next is Pocono Raceway, and you've got yourself up in the fight clearly for the points lead. Maybe a chance to bring it back to the big tracks and score big.
Yeah, I hope so. I like Pocono. It's one of the tracks I actually go to. Auto Club didn't go too well, had internet issues, so hopefully that doesn't happen at Pocono. But we'll have to see. I have a feeling I might get some payback next week, or in some sort of way. But yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully I can keep on to the points, and we'll see what happens here. You know, planning to run the whole season, make it run out of the championship, so hopefully it goes well.
And Sean Rowe keeping things strong to open up the campaign, your second podium of the season here in Atlanta. Any final comments you'd like to send out? The floor is yours.
Yeah, first I'd want to apologize to Jimmy James Thurston. He, you know, we're coming off 4. I hit the wall. I was just trying to stop the run of the 67, so I got third. But obviously, I just came down too much and turned him, and that destroyed his car and sent him back like 5 positions. So, you know, I that's all on me, 100%. But yeah, thank you for putting these streams up. Always fun to look back on them. Thank Zachary, Todriff, and PBR for having a good team. Thank my teammates for giving me input throughout the race. And yeah, just let's hopefully go get it at Pocono, but we'll see.
Sean Rowe rounding out the podium tonight from Atlanta and a chaotic finish at the checkered flag. Thank you for your time. And with Sean Rowe on the way, you've heard, of course, from your podium. That's Sean Rowe, who finishes in third, Alex Anderson, who gets away for second, and Aiden Walker, who comes through with the race victory tonight in Atlanta. Now, as we move on to our next event on the schedule, it's the Pocono Raceway for the IORA Cup Series next Thursday, and in a half hour, the Highline Racing League heads to the Pocono Raceway as well. If you've enjoyed our coverage and you'd like to keep on watching, stay with us and we'll redirect you automatically to Highline coverage at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. For those of you waiting, of course, wait till next week for the IORA Cup Series' next race. Same time, same place, same channel. You've been watching coverage of Season 7, Race 3 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway live on FTN Broadcasting. I've been your host, David Croix, commentating and producing. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Congratulations to Aiden Walker on the race victory. And we hope you have a fantastic night.